Have you ever realized that the person you trust most in the world has been playing a completely different character when you aren't looking? My name is Sarah, and I always thought my parents had the perfect, quiet marriage. My dad is a high school history teacher, the kind of guy who wears cardigans and obsessively mows the lawn every Saturday morning. My mom is a librarian, soft-spoken and organized. We lived in a normal suburb, had normal dinners, and had the same normal arguments about chores. But 3 weeks ago, while my dad was at a weekend teaching conference, his old iPad, the one he usually only uses for reading the news, started chiming incessantly in the kitchen. I thought it was an emergency, so I bypassed the simple passcode I've known since I was 10. What I found wasn't a crisis. It was a decades-long betrayal that made my entire childhood feel like a well-edited movie. The notifications were from a private messaging app I'd never seen him use. The messages weren't from a mistress or some secret second family that would almost be easier to wrap my head around. They were from my mom's younger sister, Aunt Jen. They weren't just talking, they were reminiscing about a secret relationship that started 2 years before my parents even got married and had apparently never stopped. I sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through years of digital history. I saw photos of them meeting up at work conferences that never existed. I saw my dad telling Jen that she was the love of his life while my mom was in the next room folding my laundry. But the part that made my stomach drop was a message from last Christmas. My dad had sent Jen a photo of our family sitting around the tree, and his caption was, "Another year of playing the part. Only 5 more until the kid is out of college and I can finally stop pretending." I felt like I was suffocating. Every happy memory I had, the camping trips, the birthday parties, the way my dad would kiss my mom on the cheek every morning was a calculated performance. He wasn't a loving husband, he was an actor waiting for his contract to expire. I spent the next 2 days watching my mom, wondering if she was as oblivious as I had been. She seemed so content, humming to herself while she gardened, completely unaware that her husband and her own sister were counting down the days until they could blow her world apart. The emotional weight was crushing. I wanted to scream at him to tell him I knew he was a fraud, but I realized that if I did, I would be the one destroying my mom's peace, not him. I decided to confront Aunt Jen first. I drove to her house under the guise of borrowing a book. When I walked in, I saw a framed photo on her mantle. It was a picture of me when I was a baby. I used to think it was because she was a doting aunt. Now, looking at it, I saw the possessive way she was holding me. I didn't hold back. I showed her the iPad. Jen didn't even try to deny it. She sat me down and told me the real story, that she and my dad were engaged first, but my mom had stolen him by getting pregnant with me. She said they stayed together for my sake, but they had been waiting 20 years to be together. She looked at me with this terrifyingly calm smile and said, "We aren't the villains, Sarah. We're the victims of a mistake that happened 21 years ago." The shocking part wasn't the affair, it was the realization that I was the mistake she was talking about. I wasn't the glue that held the family together, I was the cage that kept them trapped. But the twist came that evening when I finally went home to tell my mom. I found her in the office, looking at the same iPad. She wasn't crying. She looked at me, sighed, and said, "You weren't supposed to see that yet." My mom had known since I was 5. She had stayed for the financial security and to make sure I had a stable home, but she had been documenting every single one of their secret meetings for a massive divorce settlement. She wasn't the victim, she was the architect. She had let them think they were sneaking around while she slowly drained my dad's secret retirement accounts into a private fund for my future. Today, my parents are officially separated. My dad moved in with Aunt Jen, thinking he finally got his happy ending, only to find out that my mom had legally tied up almost every asset he owned. He went from a comfortable suburban life to living in Jen's cramped apartment with nothing but his clothes. My mom, she's currently on a cruise in the Mediterranean, finally living the life she put on hold for 2 decades. I realized that in a house full of secrets, the only normal thing was the love they all pretended to have for me, but in the end, my mom was the only one who actually turned that lie into a safety net. I don't talk to my dad or Jen anymore. Some parts just aren't worth playing.